Okay, so we're working on some pseudocode for this problem. Need to build a randomized way of creating addition, subtraction, math problems with difficulty increasing. And we're going to do it in JavaScript, but right now we're just writing pseudocode. So, how,
Ben, Ben,
yeah,
do you think what if we jump into a replit here?
do it.
Uh, I'm gonna go ahead and share one with you here in just a second. Once you're signed in, I feel like I'm talking to a student now. Go ahead and click on the link in the chat. I just picked a basic little template for us to get started.
Long, vigilant argument. Do I like it? Okay, so here we are in script JSS. Let me bring the prompt over. So we're just modeling the collaboration of working on a problem together. This is not a problem either of us have solved, so we're really jumping in the deep end here. Well, the first thing I think of is that a addition subtraction problem has three parts. That's the first number, second number, and the operation. So the operation is going to be just a binary, just a flip between, is it addition or is it subtraction? And then the first number, second number, we can just use some random producer, but there is, in subtraction, probably we would want to limit it. Well, I guess that's an open question. Do we want it to be a positive outcome? Because in this context, in finance, yeah, 3 minus 10 can make sense if you have access to credit.
Sure. Yeah, you're going into debt. We didn't talk about a way to think about debt as part of the game.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's keep it all positive
I
now.
Okay, for now. Yeah, I could see a world where that would be something that we would want to include, but I agree. Let's go ahead and just keep it positive for now.
So in the case that the operation is subtraction, there has to be some additional logic to make sure the greater number is first.
Sure.
Uh,
A thought on this has three parts. Do we
yeah.
want to include the answer as a fourth part? Or are you thinking about, is this literally parameters?
Yeah, in order to build a random addition or subtraction problem, you need three things.
Okay.
And so once you have three things, the
You
fourth
can
thing
get it. Yeah.
can determine.
Got it.
So that's one phase is like I can already kind of imagine, okay, I need a way to create a random number. That could be its own function. In fact, I'm thinking now as I sort of branch into the next part, the increasing difficulty, I could have a random number generator which takes in an argument, which is the number of digits n. So create a function that produces a random number of length n, a number of digits n.
Yeah. And in that sense, you know, what came to my mind initially when we first started talking about this feature is um, several functions based on difficulty. So, one digit function, 2 digit function, 3 digit function,
Yeah.
etc. So, depending on what the user selects, we're calling a different function, and we have the random generation done. I would say probably within each of those functions rather than outside of them,
Right.
because of the fact that we're dealing with different a different number of digits.
Yeah. So maybe let's just start with oh, wait a minute. So is our function going to output wait, let's back up. Function inputs and outputs. There could be sub functions below this, but if we're building a function that creates an addition, subtraction, a random addition and subtraction problem, I'm thinking of the inputs as being none and the output as being an array of 3 strings, or no, 2 integers in a string. The string is going to be the plus or the minus symbol. Does that sound right to you? Or were you thinking the input would be something about the difficulty?
No, I don't think the input would be something about the difficulty. I think what you said sounds right. I think we collect and check for difficulty and then call different difficulty functions which do this. So we have let's call it a 1-digit function, which will be called if the user chooses easy. We call a 2-digit function if the user chooses the next level up, medium or 2-digit, or however we present that to them. And they all do essentially this, with the exception of simply creating more challenging questions that will either be 1-digit or 2-digit or 3-digit based on what the user has selected. So I don't think these functions themselves take in a difficulty level. I think they're called conditional.
Yeah. Okay, so let's maybe, since we have a little bit of time here, let's start with this one. Create a function that produces a random number of length n. I don't remember what JavaScript's random number generator is, so I'm just going to Google it. Produce a random number in JavaScript.
What is the
No,
tying this back to the feature? I guess I'm unclear on the purpose of this.
So because every problem has 3 parts,
Yeah.
you need to create 2 random numbers.
Yes.
So I would
Okay.
say, so this function is the sort of smallest little component. This is not part of the larger function. This is just a function that
It'll be called within each of the difficulty
yes.
functions. I got you now. I got you now. In other words, n is
1, 2, 3. So
yeah. Okay. Okay.
here,
So when the
1, 2.
user's difficulty setting is set, that setting will be passed to this random number function.
Right.
Okay.
So I don't know if we need to do any error handling to check for n, but it looks like we just used math.random returns a floating point number.
And we can set a max there, which will keep us capped out at whatever we want that to be. So this.
Yeah, let me I just have to see things because I struggle to. So if I just do math.random, it produces a big floating number. If I do math.random times 10, that should give me a 1-digit number if I do the math.floor on top of the math.random times 10. And then in order to get a 2-digit number 0, this is going to be a problem. We have to do some error checking there. But if I want a 2-digit number, I do 100. If I do a 3-digit number, I do 1,000. So that would be 10 to the whatever power. So that's where n comes in.
Yep.
So I can take this little bit of code and go here and have this be 10. In JavaScript, is it just the arrow?
I believe so. I can check that real quick.
So
Looks like it's double star.
Yeah. Well, we can just test it.
Yeah.
10 to the third. Nope, that's definitely not right. Okay.
Yeah. It's intriguing though. How are we getting 9?
Let okay, so then there would be some error checking to make sure n or num is not 0, and then return num.
Yeah. And we can set it up in such a way that they can't possibly select 0.
Yeah, we want to have some if logic, maybe a loop that, produces num and then checks to see if it's 0. And if it's 0, then you do the loop again and just keep looping until it's not 0. Okay. So in the context of the larger function, we can add some of the error handling later. Well, first, I guess we could try this out, make sure it's working. Wait, what's a good way to test this? And just go to the console shell?
You can do that, or yeah, if you hit web view and then on the
Inspect.
wrench. If you want to stay on a single tab, then you can hit the monkey wrench next to that inspect button. Yeah.
And then I can just try.
And then you can just call it. Yeah.
3. Oh, because did I connect the script file? Yes, it should be connected. Function random.
Run the program at the top.
Random. 3. Woohoo. Okay, so in the larger function, let's just write some pseudocode for this one. So this is the function produce problem. We think it takes no inputs, so we need to produce the first number, we need to produce the second number, pick between addition and subtraction. What else? If subtraction, figure out which number is larger and put that in the array first, followed by smaller number, followed by subtraction symbol.
Now, I think we're using rand
Yeah.
within
Right.
yeah, which which makes me wonder. I mean, what you think about this? Uh,
You mean as inputs?
yeah.
Well, I don't think you need to take random as an argument. I think you could have random either be positioned inside or outside and just be accessing it.
Um, I suppose that's true. Yeah, we don't necessarily need to use this somewhere else in the code, but we definitely then need end.
Yes, that this does bring up n, because if we're using random inside this function, we have to know where n is coming from. And
Exactly. Yeah.
my idea, if we're going to have an increasing difficulty, maybe the input here is a time number. And then you do a little bit of math on your time number to determine what n is. If time is less than 30, n is 1. If time is between 30 and 60, n is 2. Something like that. So that
Okay.
as the time increases, every time you call the produce problem function, you look at the time and you say, okay, where are we? And that determines the level of difficulty.
Okay. I thought there
Yeah.
were two variables at play here, simply time and then separately difficulty selection. So
No,
we're
yeah,
saying
that's a
time is
good point.
directly tied. Okay.
No, that's a good point, because if you take two arguments, then you can create a little matrix of, well, if it's easy, 0 to 30 means this. But if it's medium, 0 to 30 means this. And if it's hard, 0 to 30 means this. And then it just ratchets up from there. Once you have the starting point, then you can kind of work out, all right, well, if I'm at 76 seconds and I'm in the hard one, well, I started at, 3 digits. Now I'm going to be at 5 digits or something like that.
Okay. I think we're just thinking about this a little slightly differently.
Yeah.
That's okay. We'll
Oh, it's
the picture will
10:25.
become,
It's
it
10:25.
is 10:25. Yeah. So this is a good stopping point, but
So we do realize that we will need arguments for our function. But we have to figure out what they
yeah,
are.
yeah, yeah. Yep. How are we getting time and difficulty, or is time is difficulty based off of time is the question. Yeah.
Cool, man.
Okay.
That was
Yeah,
fun.
good stuff. Yeah, I'll keep this. I'll name it something that makes sense so we can find it again.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then I'll be able to pop in and work on that, or
Yeah, yeah. As long as you're invited, I think you can just pop into it. Yeah.
I'll just leave it open. And you can yeah, I'll send you an email. Well, I know you gotta go.